This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com, and my guest today has been on over 500 magazine covers. He was Fitness Model of the Year 7 times, 4 times Mr. Natural Universe, appeared on both incarnations of American Gladiators as well as Battle Dome, Days of Our Lives, and he even did a small amount of training for pro wrestling, from what I understand, which we'll ask him about later. Mike Hearn, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, brother. Hey, thanks for making this happen.
Oh, thanks for coming on. I've been watching your workout videos over on your YouTube channel for the past 3 weeks or so and trying some of your techniques, and you have some great information on there.
Thank you. Pretty impressive that you were trying those kind of craziness. The exercise that I do.
Well, it obviously works for you. I know you started very young in the gym. Maybe you could start off by telling us how you became involved in bodybuilding. I believe you also did some martial arts early on.
Yeah, we started martial arts very young because my mom was a martial artist and my dad was a football player, bodybuilder. So we were pretty much bred as a family to compete. So that was the great thing about it. Yeah, I started in Taekwondo and then got annoyed by the point system of that and moved to other martial arts, and then inducted into the Hall of Fame of Martial Arts in 2014. So that was a nice end to that career. But I competed through my teens and 20s and stuff, which helped me in all the TV shows like Gladiators and Battle Dome and just tussling. But health and fitness came about because of the fact of my sisters competed. They did bodybuilding and powerlifting. My brothers competed. And so it was just something I took to. And when I saw my first magazines, it was the combination of Bruce Lee and Arnold Schwarzenegger got me hooked, and I was done. And it's something I wanted by... We're looking at, it was funny, my team here is putting together a Become a Titan book, and we were looking at old photos from birth to 20, and it was amazing that by 4 or 5, I was already doing poses and already knew that that's what I wanted. And it just never at any time left that desire. So that's how kind of it got going. And then I guess you go into, started competing in Olympic lifting at 13, powerlifting at 14, and bodybuilding at 14, 15. And the bug already had me. I mean, I think I had it regardless in the sense of that I would continue to do it. But when I competed on bodybuilding, I competed against, and back then it was an amazing thing. Back then, everybody lifted. It seemed like in sports. And so we had, there was 19, 20-year-old, there was 20, 19-year-olds, and I was a 15-year-old kid, and I beat them all. And so that was like, okay, I'm doing something I love and I'm good at it. And so I continued forward on that. And by 17, doing teenage nationals and Joe Weider getting to know who I was, then I was locked in, and the career just took off from there.
Who were some of your mentors early on? Because you developed quite an impressive physique as a teenager. Obviously, I doubt you came up with all those techniques just by yourself. I assume you had some people helping you along the way.
Yeah, something that was cool, and hopefully your audience will get this. It has become a day and age of looking but not seeing. And I think maybe you could understand that. People will look at something and go, I got it. I know what that is. I know everything now. I'm good. And I was lucky enough to be around by 13, 14, and 15. I thought some strong guys. And what I didn't realize, I was around the strongest guys in the world, the best power lifters in the entire world. Doug Fernandez, Jeff Magruder, Doyle Kennedy, and later on came Ed Cohen. But the gym I trained at was Magruder Fitness Center, or Magruder's gym. And it was incredible because I had these pioneers at the time. You know, Jeff McGrew was the first guy to bench 600 at 242. Doug Fernandez was a 9 to 1,000 pound squatter. Doyle Kennedy, again, another 9 to 1,000 on the dead. And they were before the time. They were early 80s. And so those were my coaches in a sense. But I also I was such a young kid that I have a naive belief at that time that I could lift that kind of weight, but also look good. And as kids, you know, kids say what they feel. And I thought that, you know, they were strong, but I wanted to look good as well. And so I still had that belief that I could be the combination of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bruce Lee, somebody that's visually, you know, powerful like Arnold, but also a complete savage like Bruce Lee. And so that was my role models in the magazines, and then those were the role models in person. And then I had some great martial arts instructors that really kept me in line, especially going through like most kids have, you know, ups and downs, and just being a teenager and trying to decide who I was. And they really kept me in track on everything. So it was nice.
Doug Furness, is that the same one that got into WWE in later years?
I think Doug did get in there for a while, and just sick legs, man. Good looking guy, great body. One of his best friends was Ed Cohen, but yeah, all those guys could have done back in the day. But Doug was an athletic guy, and he squatted, man. His squat was so, I guess today's society would call it a sumo squat, but it was just a wide stance power squat. But his legs were, from what I remember, measured 36 inches. So wow. Just a savage. And you know what's great about that is back in the 80s, those wrestlers were not just show, and then my team is saying just show. They were like Billy Gunn. They were just big humans. And so even in person, you're seeing this superhero. And I get, you know, television, I get the understanding that Tom Cruise is a superhero on TV, and to me, he's great, but in person, they're not. And I think that's what I loved about the wrestling about the 80s is those guys were in-person monsters.
How did you become involved in American Gladiators, the first 1989 season of it?
Gladiators was a fun thing. Joe Weider called me up after I was doing the magazines, and he says, I need you in California. And I'm like, done. California, here we come. And so I head down to California, and then there was a slip on the front desk of Gold's Gym Venice saying, hey, Gladiator tryouts. And so it was down at the Coliseum, and I went down there, and we had a good couple-day battle. And it was, I think it was 1,500 guys. And by Sunday, it was down to me and one other guy, me and Red, who played Saber on TV. He was a cornerback for the Redskins, and we banged each other up, man, that Sunday and knocked each other silly. But I basically competed against that many other guys and kicked some serious ass.
Was the pay pretty good for that?
It's TV. TV money is good money. TV money, I don't care what anybody says, is great money. And we're still getting residuals from it. So yeah, TV money, no matter what it is. It was the soap operas I did. Death Becomes Her and still get paid for that. Movies from back in the 90s that I did. There's nothing like TV money. So, and it keeps going even though you're not actually doing the show anymore. So that's a nice plus.
There's a fan wondering if you dated any of the female gladiators.
No, I didn't. I didn't. No, we'll leave it at that.
Now, you were also Mr. Natural Universe. A lot of people, there's all this controversy whether you're natural or not, but you explain it on your YouTube channel in detail. What made you want to stay in the natural bodybuilding as opposed to the performance-enhancing drugs bodybuilding?
Well, actually, I competed in both and won both. So that was the great thing. The reason I chose the one aspect is because when I was 20, I was bigger than everybody, and I was much stronger than everybody. Physically bigger, not muscular bigger, but just physically bigger. I'm a big man. So when I was doing a shoot with Joe Weider, and there was some other Olympia guys there, there was 4 of us. And Joe says, hey, I want to save you for the last of the shoot today. And I'm like, no sweat. And I didn't realize at that time it was one of those moments where he was going to give me advice that would stay with me for a lifetime. And here's the great thing he said is how you are right now is all I need. That's all I need for the magazines. That's all you need to make it in the health and fitness world. That's all you need. And my desire was, it was fun to compete. I love competing. I'm a gladiator at heart. I love to go head to head against a guy. But at the end of the day, it is the training that I absolutely desire. And it makes me breathe, if that makes sense to you. And it was the continuous, I want to be able to do this for a lifetime, is the aspect of it. And the argument of juiced or not juiced, it doesn't matter at this stage of the life. It's, I've been doing this since the early 80s. There's a lot of guys that juiced. Why were they done by 90? Why were they done by 2000, 2010? So the people's opinion doesn't matter anymore. It's just it's the fun life that I get to live. And the one thing I noticed is when Mike Ashley, I found out when I was a teenager, Mike Ashley was natural or somewhat natural. And I said, well, if he could do it, I could do it. And so for people that complain about it and stuff, the fact, how would you say this? If there's a couple of kids out there that want to try it the way I do it, because of my beliefs, I'm happy that that's just a couple. I can't change a million people, and I can't teach anybody anything. I can only just show you or make you think about it. And the one thing that I've been able to do is not only keep the muscle since the late 80s, but stay healthy and continue to do this and continue to get better. And so if you know anything about chemicals, you can't maintain, you can't keep it. It comes and goes. You get strong, you get weak, you get muscular, you get soft. And so the one thing I'm proud of is that I've got to live the life I have. Good role model. Not everybody's going to love me. Not everybody's going to hate me. So it's been fun.
Rick Bassman told me that you and Joe Millionaire were 2 of the guys that could have been huge stars in wrestling had you actually pursued it, but neither of you guys did for your own reasons. Interesting to know with all the guys that he trained that he says you would have been a top star.
So the great thing is in the early 90s, Vince McMahon, Shane McMahon actually came out and we went out to dinner and hit it off. And from that, they flew me out there and sat down with Vince and the whole team at WWE. Early 90s. It was actually, I think, right before Billy Gunn got there. It was great. We got suited up. We got a wardrobe. We got everything. And I was going to go down to, I guess it was Tennessee or Georgia at the time to do camp. But then the conflict, remember I had Gladiators. So it wasn't that I chose not to do wrestling, but I already had Gladiators. And so with Gladiators, there was 5 of us, 5 guys, 5 girls. And so I was more of a star for that show. Instead of going down to camp for 6 months and everything, and then the contracts just got into the way. What was great was that opportunity came back around later, which was great. We went to Terry Taylor. Terry Taylor? The Red Rooster?
Yeah, the Red Rooster.
So I did a show called Battle Dome, which was great. And Battle Dome was a lot of fun because we could kick that, again, out of people, which was fun. Again, I've had a pretty darn fun life. So that show was great. And then we teamed up with WCW, which was really good. And I got to meet some friends that I'm still friends with today, from Flair to Hogan and others. But we went and we'd compete against those guys. We did WCW. They would come on to our show. We'd go on to their show and do wrestling. So that was fun. And then from that, I went to camp, and it was great again, except that we didn't continue forward because WCW sold to WWE at that time. And unfortunately, unfortunately, they were not happy about the first encounter where I couldn't do the wrestling. And so it didn't happen on the second time because WCW sold to WWE. Ted Turner sold it off to Vince. And it's okay because then we came back with Gladiators and we kicked ass again. And that was a great thing.
Yeah, there's a fan on here asking about the second incarnation of Gladiators, that Hulk Hogan was actually involved with it. How was that experience for you, and did you become friends with Hogan on that?
No, I became friends with Hogan almost 10 years before that from WCW. So that was, and here's the funny thing about, I guess, weightlifting or being in the magazines and being at this level is that you're already friends with a lot of these guys. And you already know a lot of these guys. So that was a great thing. You know, it's a small world when you get to the top. And the health and fitness world and the wrestling world and the football world, they're all very intertwined. So, you know, my friends are throughout wrestling, throughout football, throughout MMA. So it's a great thing, man. And it's you know what it's nice about it is it's a lot of guys, you know, just guys that can talk some smack, have some fun. Yeah, so it was great. But coming back on the new Gladiators was a blast. I miss, and we just filmed ESPN the other day, 30 by 30, 3430, talking about Gladiators. And the one thing I think they missed on the new Gladiators is they tried to make it a TV show instead of a straight up competition like it was. The David versus Goliath, the great athlete against the great gladiator. And so I think that's one of the things that was the downfall of the new Gladiators is it wasn't as hyped. It was hyped. Don't get me wrong. It blew up. It was the #1 show when it came back. And that's because every parent is watching it with their kids. So it was a great thing. But at the same time, it wasn't that raw, beastie kind of thing that I think maybe your viewers or I prefer is I don't want to show. I want to get out there and tussle and get in a fight.
Were you friends with Malibu from the original Gladiators? I believe he was part of the ESPN show as well.
I am great friends with him today, in today's time. Back then, I came on the show right after he was off the show, so I didn't get a lot of chance. And then it's always two separation. He's friends with my friends and stuff, and I never really got to get to know him in my young 20s or 30s, but I got to know him now, and it's incredible. And I love who he is as a person, man. He's just a solid cat, man. Solid cat.
Is it true at one point you dated Medeja from WCW, who was with Scott Steiner as a manager?
I guess it's true. I guess we were married.
Oh, you were married to her? Okay.
Yeah, we were married back in my 20s. I was a young lad.
Oh, wow. When did you adapt the habit of training at 4 a.m? Because that takes a lot of dedication to go to bed at 9 o'clock every night and get up so early.
That was a paper route. So there's 10 of us in the family. And so we had to start really, really young. And so the one thing is that I would get up. We had our paper route, so we'd get up around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock to do the paper route, and then you'd go to school. Because there were so many kids in our family, we kind of had to help out a bit, which established a great work ethic, which I'm actually trying to fight and try to figure out how I can do that to my son and teach him that kind of responsibility at such a young age. But that being said, if any of your fans have ideas how to do that, please let me know, because I don't want to have him have a paper out here in California. This is not a safe place. But that being said, we would do the paper route. We'd go back home. All the boys would train and the girls, and then we'd go to school. And it just never stopped. It never stopped at any point. And then also on top of that is you can always find an excuse during the day on skipping out of the workout. Work's got you, the family's got you, the kids got you, whatever it is. You can't skip out at 4 a.m, except the only thing you're skipping out on is sleep. And I'm a pretty darn disciplined guy. So when it's time to go to bed, I go to bed.
And you still train at that time in the morning at Gold's Gym, I believe, the mecca of bodybuilding. I understand it's pretty busy in there, like from 6 a.m. on. I'm surprised that at 4 a.m, some of your videos show there's very few people in there.
Yeah, Gold's is it's Gold's Venice, man. It's the mecca. It's a great place. And now that it's opened back up and stuff, it's nice. Yeah, there's a diehard crew that goes in there. What I love is that 4 to 6 crew, we don't play music at that time. We like just the banter and the noise of the weights. So that's one of the things that we love about that early. But I also love the fact that most of the people that are from 4 to 6 are savages in business and in life. And so you kind of, and I've always noticed this. I've always noticed that those guys that are really successful in what they do, they get up, they get in there, they take care of themselves, they take care of their health, their bodies, get the mind right, and then they're off to work, whatever it is. And so I love that early morning stuff.
I understand Arnold still works out in there at around 7 or 7:30 every morning. Is that true?
Yeah, Arnold's there at 7 every morning. Crushes it with Ralph Muller. And Joseph, his son's always there around that time as well, who's becoming a savage himself. So it's really cool to see that genetics drop down to him, and also Patrick, his other son. Both great kids. And you know what I love about both of those kids is Arnold set up a discipline, or I don't know how you would say it, a standard. And both of the kids adapted to it, and they lived that. And so it's cool to see how his kids are relative to other kids. I see this next great Arnold since 1990 come into the gym, and within a year that guy's gone because he believed his own hype. He got carried away with stuff where he just went down the wrong path. And it's cool to see these kids that are just really focused. They work their asses off. Everything that gets handed to them is over and above maybe what is already given to them, but they work for it. And I love that. I love anybody, regardless of what you're given from birth, to still work for it as hard as they do. And it's cool to see that. And it's just cool to be around that. So you can imagine being at Gold's Gym Venice and just being around Arnold and all those guys. So
I guess you've probably become friends with Arnold over the years, or at least acquaintances, working out at the same gym for so long.
Been Arnold's friend since 1990. Yeah. So again, when it comes to like acquaintances and friends, it's a small crew, and it's fun. Worked with Arnold throughout the years and been a good friend. So it's nice to be friends with them. His nephew, Patrick Knapp, Schwarzenegger, is a dear friend, and we're the same age. So we kind of grew up in the last 30 years together. So it's always good to go to Arnold's movies or on set and joke around with them. So it's a plus. But from Hulk Hogan to Big Show to all these guys, I've been able to hang out with them, be friends with them, and good friends with them, and then also help them. And I think that's what's really cool in the last, from like Steve Austin, even to John Cena and so on, is to help them with nutrition or advice on training on how to keep this going. Like you said, you saw some of the exercises I'm doing. A lot of the training and nutrition I do is not just to win Mr. California or Mr. Universe. It is to be able to do this for a lifetime and be a savage for a lifetime.
What is your relationship like with Steve Austin? I heard your podcast with him, and he seems to have a lot of respect for you.
It's great. It's great. Dear friend. We're funny Texas together. We get to hang out. It's good. All these guys are really, as cool as you think Steve Austin is, he's probably cooler. He really is, man. He's such a straight up kind of guy. Him, Arnold, Hulk, all of them, just great guys.
I've noticed you have a few videos up, more than a few actually, with Billy Gunn on your YouTube channel, training with him. How did you become friends with him, and what is your relationship? It seems like you guys train together here and there.
Billy is one of my closest friends. He's great. Billy and I got to connect through the years. And yeah, he comes out and stays with me at my house. We train a lot together. And I think the thing with Billy and I that we both like is that we've been doing this since the early, he was doing the WWE at the early 90s and I was doing Gladiators early 90s. And so it's about continuing to get better and continuing to set a bar. The one thing, if you ever met Billy?
Only briefly, but yeah, he's huge. Yeah.
Monster. Just a monster of a man. Hulk's a big guy. A lot of these guys are a big guy, but the one thing I noticed about Billy was when I saw Billy in the early 90s on TV, I said, wow, this guy has a good physique, but he's probably about, 5'11", 6 foot, maybe 220 or something like that. And then you meet him and you're like, dude, wow, great genetics. But on top, again, genetics do nothing for you unless you work. And he works his ass off, and was nice this last year. I guess it was within the last year. Yeah. That I helped him. I think my team would know better than I, but I helped him get ready for stage, and he got to compete in his first bodybuilding show. And so that was cool to have this guy, a Hall of Fame wrestler, Billy Gunn, do his first bodybuilding show, and me taking him through it and taking care of his diet and his training and everything.
There's a fan on here that wants to know, what wrestlers do you think would have made good American gladiators?
Ooh, Scotty Steiner, Rick Steiner, Sean O'Hara. There's a few. One thing that I think gets pushed under, you guys, all you wrestling fans know this, but society doesn't know this. They go, hey, it's fake. It's fake. It's just going out there and they're acting. Those guys are great athletes. They're great athletes. And mostly back in the day when I went to WCW or when I was first over at WWE, those guys are the biggest monsters and athletic monsters that you can meet. A lot of Division I players out of college when I went to WCW, and yeah, there's so many of those guys could have been great gladiators. And again, gladiators was somebody could work the microphone and kick some ass. And so all those guys, you guys know, they can work a microphone. But yeah, most of those guys could have been great gladiators. Great gladiators. And vice versa. I think everybody that was gladiators could have done great in wrestling. So yeah, it would cross over easily.
EJ wants to know what your favorite body part is to work out.
I'll go two. Favorite thing to do is legs because they're the hardest. But then on top of that, I would say shoulders, because I want to have these just superhero round shoulders, which obviously I don't have right now. Or do I? I don't know. But those are the two things. I would say legs because it's just a mental fight, and then shoulders because they're so fun to train.
Speaking of those round shoulders, do you have any tips for side delts and also traps? That's always a sticking point for me to try and get those traps bigger.
Yeah. Traps I would do twice a week. I would do it on back day and on shoulder day, and I would just do some shrugs. And then I also do some cool shrugs over on my YouTube. So you got to watch those kind of things. I do some fun trap connection, mind to muscle. Shoulders. So here's the thing with shoulders. Yes, you want to get that side delt, but if you sit there all day long on side laterals, it's actually going to be more wear and tear on your shoulder relative to the press. And the press is really what gives you that size that the diet itself will bring out the roundness. Hopefully that helps you out.
Very interesting.
DDP. DDP was over there with us and came on the show with Battle Dome and was over with us at WCW when I was there.
Yeah, now he does the DDP yoga. I'm not sure if he uses weights too much anymore.
I don't think he does. I think it's really focused on the yoga and the stretching for him, which he's done great with.
Roland would like to know if you think Ronnie Coleman is the greatest bodybuilder of all time, and if not, who do you think it is?
Yeah, when it comes to bodybuilding, obviously Ronnie, I think, is to society the greatest. For my take, I would go Lee Haney or Flex Wheeler for my take, because I think just for my personal choice, that's who I think are two of the greatest. Because I think Flex Wheeler in his prime was such a comic book character. I mean, his bone structure with that kind of muscle was amazing. So that's my personal opinion. But yeah, Ronnie to society is the greatest ever. And Ronnie is the sweetest human you ever met. Ronnie is like Christmas every day. It's an amazing cat. And I've known Ronnie since the late 80s because we powerlifted against each other in the ADFPA.
Wow. That goes back, and a few of the fans have asked this, but it's a good question. You've been at it so long. How do you still look as youthful as you do?
Well, that goes right to the point of it was always about being healthy, taking care of myself, and the slow race to the top, not the speed, get on drugs or anything like that. It was never that for me. And that's why I stayed to the natural route and wanted to keep that way. So I can keep this for a lifetime. And it's funny because it's paying more dividends now, which is really cool compared to then, because I had to be so patient then because I wasn't as muscular as everybody then. Even though I got the covers of the magazines, even though I got all that, I was such a huge human that got me a lot of that stuff and what won the shows. But it's now that people are kind of going, wow, he did something completely different than every other bodybuilder in history. This is cool to see him, from 14 years old, 15 years old on stage to being in almost my mid 50s, still on stage, still doing this stuff, still enjoying it and loving it. And we just finished up a shoot for, again, another cover story, which I'm happy about because it's a cover story of me and my son for Iron Man magazine. So it's been in the magazine since 80s to, 2020. So it's a fun road, but the main thing is, I think mostly everybody thinks that it's the lifting or the extra stuff that gets you muscular, and it's not. It's the nutrition. And I know that's lame and nobody wants to hear that because nobody wants to diet all year. But I think that's the one thing that I got lucky that I knew that it was the nutrition. If I just stayed true to the nutrition and always stayed on a healthy diet, both feeding the muscle and the connective tissue and working on the bone density, that I would be able to do this for a lifetime.
You have a lot of videos on your channel that people can look up if they just search your name on YouTube related to nutrition. But could you give us like your basic nutrition philosophy for getting a good physique?
Yeah, I definitely do that. First off, do not run away from carbohydrates. That's a fad diet. It's also going to make you deteriorate. Also not going to make you recover. And we have the Titan meal plan. So I help people around the world on nutrition because it's not just you're feeding the muscle, which most people think. You got to feed the connective tissue. And connective tissue is like man strength. It's the ligaments and everything between the muscle and the bone. So, and that's why I'm still strong today in the sense because of the fact that I fed that. So it's a percentage of feeding the muscle, feeding the connective tissue, and then giving your body energy to continue to train and recover. Recovers, I know everybody thinks, hey, let me just eat to get a good workout in. It's more important that you recover from that workout. It's more important that you're feeding the body through the day. Everybody tries to starve the body. And when you get older, trust me, it doesn't get easier. This doesn't get easier when you get older. It gets harder and harder and harder. Every decade, it gets harder. So just to give you information on how I do it, and anybody that wants to do that with me, we do that. My team does that. We help you with your nutrition, but get away from the fad diets or thinking that there is a way that you should just stay sliced all year. That's a tough one too. And I know that's not what you guys want to hear. You want to hear that you can stay ripped and abs all year. There comes a time where you need to go like this. You need to take time to feed your body more and then diet down, and then feed your body more and then diet down, because your body just does not stay even keel and get better every single day.
And as far as training, you mentioned you work out for 2 hours in the morning. What do you feel about 2-a-days, and also how many days off a week do you normally take, if any?
Some of the questions you're asking, let me help the viewers, is it doesn't work that way. So how many days should you train? It depends on the program you're on. Most of the time I would say 4 days a week. And then as you get closer and closer to getting your body to where you want it, then you go 5 days, and then 6 days, and then you back it down to 4 days. And so when it comes to like, hey, what's your nutrition? Well, my nutrition is always changing, because I'm always on a program, and everybody should be on that. So everybody that's out there that's going, hey, I eat healthy, there's a huge difference between eating healthy and eating right. Eating healthy is, you have your fish, your vegetables, you take your vitamin C and vitamin B. That's eating healthy. That just means that you're going to grow old and physically be healthy, but you will visually look deteriorated. Compared to eating right, and that's the right amount of calories at the right time, at the right places. On top of that is the workout program set up for you the best way you can do it. So those are all little things that I would hate to say this is what I do, because right now I'm at my peak where I'm getting ready for stage again, and I got my next movie coming up. So I'm getting ready for things. And then after that, I will take time to where I'll cut the workouts from 6 days down to 4 days. I'll take my calories from 2,500 up to 6,000 and feed the body again. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. Are you allowed to tell us what your next movie is, or is that still confidential?
The name is confidential, but it's a fun character. I am opposite of Stephen Dwarf in this. He plays my brother, and it is a savage movie. But I do want to say that my movie out right now, I just came out last week, is The Manson Brothers, and you can see me in there. I play Radiant Bobby, a big-time wrestler. So that is out for you guys that love wrestling. The Manson Brothers. Go check that out right now. You guys will love that. Watch it this weekend, and then make sure to hit me up on social media and tell me how you liked my character, because it's a fun character. We got Randy Couture, we got Boss Rutan in there. We got a whole cast of incredible actors. But it was when you see the cast of guys, man, it's just the cream of the crop badass. It's kind of like Expendables, just a lot of badass dudes.
Is it in theaters, or can you order that online? How can people watch it?
I don't think anything's in theaters. It's only online. Okay. I think it's only online. Yeah, but yeah, okay. Small theater release as from what I understand. But yeah, it's online. Just type in The Manson Brothers and you can watch that. We're already getting messages about people watching it and loving it. But this is great timing, because your fan base is wrestling, so you guys will love this.
Did you have a hard time breaking into acting? I know you're out in California, but reading scripts and performing in front of casting agents can be pretty nerve-wracking.
No, I got out here and I jumped. It's my first movie was 1990 with Bruce Willis, Goldie Hawn, Death Becomes Her, and I just continued forward on that. You stay in class, you study. You go on castings, you get said no a lot too. And yeah, you just keep pushing. But I've had a great career with a lot of projects I've had. And this last 2 years has been exploding. So it's nice. It's one of those things, I guess it is, again, now with all these new movies coming out that I'm doing, it's everybody going, oh, sheesh, you're acting. I've been doing it the whole time. But, it's never just... It's never you go to stardom within weeks. You know what I mean? It's one of those things and for me, I love all this so much that I just stayed with it. I stayed with it. And it's one of those silly little quotes. They say, you can't beat the guy that doesn't give up. And I'm that guy that doesn't give up. And I'll keep pushing on this.
You've also been on the cover of a lot of romance novels. Are those fun jobs to do?
You tell me. I get a fly out to New York, pose with hot girls. I think we hit about 3 or 4 girls a day. And you're basically kind of just like smooching on each other. And yeah, it was that was really, really fun. And it was a huge part of my career too, because it was such I came in after Fabio and took his spot, and it was great. It was great. A lot of fun. And the artwork is amazing. Mostly back then, because, everything can be probably done by computer nowadays, but to see the paintings, because we would go in, they would dress me up on whatever outfit it is and whatever period piece it is. And then they would take photos for a good hour. And then the artist would choose his shot and create it. To see that was amazing, outside of just having fun doing that kind of fun stuff. That's silly money.
I can imagine.
Yeah, they take care of you.
And you've saved your money really well too, haven't you? I was watching one of your videos where you mentioned that.
Yeah, I got lucky and met right people, but I also came from a family of 10 that I learned about the respect of money. And also I knew I never wanted to be a 9-to-5 guy. And so I had to make sure that I was set myself. And so I saved and then invested in real estate. And we have, me and my girl, Mona, have apartment complexes around the United States. We've done well. So we're good. We're good.
One of the questions that everyone wanted me to ask you was what happened with that stage incident. And you mentioned in another interview, I looked it up, where you said something happened after you fell off that nobody saw. Could you tell us what happened that isn't out there on the internet?
I'll post that too. But what happened was I hit the ground, stood up, and I started posing and went through the whole routine. So nothing happened except I kept going forward. What saved me, I think, was the judo, because you are falling off a stage in pitch black. You don't know where the ground is. But I naturally just slapped the ground, jumped back up, jumped on the chair, and everybody in the auditorium thought I planned it and faked it, the fall, which I didn't. It was a 100%. I did not see the end of the stage. I went out there. It was a smaller stage. Also, you're blinded by those lights. And so, yeah, just hit the ground, got up, started posing, having fun, and that thing went viral. Holy shnikes, and we still laugh about it today. So
yeah, that's one of the things that unfortunately pops up when people search your name now.
Not unfortunately, that's a good thing.
Yeah, well, you looked amazing.
It's a good thing. Hey, we all mess up. Mine just happened to be on TV at the time.
Now, I've watched a few of your videos with Rich Piana. It seems like you guys were very close. Could you share some memories of training with him and your friendship?
We didn't train a lot together. Again, my strength is annoying to most people. So we didn't train a lot together, but we were good friends and we had great conversations. Great guy. And it's funny because people would say, well, why would you be friends with him? He does this, this, and this. It's like, at no point, my opinion on things in the health and fitness world changed who I was friends with. Those choices are just my choices. And I don't know why society thinks because I go one route and somebody else goes another route that you wouldn't be friends. That had nothing to do. It's, I have friends that drink alcohol. I never drank alcohol. It doesn't mean that I ain't going to be friends with them. So the great thing about Rich is that he was somebody that was deep. You could have serious conversations with him, have nothing to do. We never talked about training outside of that video. We talked about life, dogs, family. And so great human being, good role model to people in the sense of just being true to who you are, regardless of how you look or how society looks at you. That was the great thing about him. I thought that a lot of people look at him one way visually, and then they have their opinions. Man, people will surprise you. I've been in this business long enough. People will surprise you. Some of the nicest people are some of the most unique looking people, where some of the most beautiful people are the most ruthless, ugly individuals inside that you've ever met.
Now, Rich, watching his videos, he seemed to have been a big proponent of pre-workout and going even overboard on the pre-workouts, which may or may not have contributed to his passing. What's your philosophy on pre-workouts?
Oh, I think, yeah, I think that had nothing to do with it, but that's for a medical person to say. I like pre-workouts. I love pre-workouts. I have a non-stim pre-workout because I don't want to be jittery when I go in the gym. Except for some days when I'm feeling the diet has got to me, I'm burnt out, I'm tired, then I'll throw some coffee in there. So I'll do the caffeine as well. So yeah, pre-workouts aren't dangerous, and I've never heard of anybody being anywhere near injured or medical reasons from a pre-workout.
Michael would like to know, how were Mike Adamle and Larry Konska, the American Gladiators commentators, which I might be pronouncing wrong?
They were great, man. You went old school, man. You went old school there. Great guys. Great guys. Gladiators had some. The cast from the first one and everything, I prefer those guys because they really taught me a lot. From the cast to the way the crew ran, everything about that. There was so much I learned from those people. And I think I've always been one of those people, because I grew up with dyslexia, is that I've always paid attention. 100% paid attention, because I couldn't read it, couldn't write it. So I had to pay attention. And I think just learning people's traits and how they were on the first Gladiators, from the host to the cameramen to the Gladiators themselves, great crew, great people.
Clay would like to know if you have any memories of Ray
and Tanya.
Yeah, Tanya.
I talk to both still, Tanya a lot. Both great individuals. Zap, that's Ray Hall. You know, the cool thing about Ray was, man, she was like one of the first girls I ever knew that benched 315, and she was beautiful. And then Tanya obviously was one of the biggest bodybuilders at that era, and she was like the pretty blonde of the early 90s, late 80s, 90s, and still a beautiful mother today. Both great people. Again, you guys are picking some great names, old school stuff that are really, really good people. Just so you guys know that I've been lucky in a career that I've been around really good individuals. And I think a lot of them, you only make it because you're a good individual. You know what I mean? And continue to keep that name. It's to be great for a day, you know, you got to be some of the best, right? But to be great for a lifetime, that's character.
Malibu was telling me that the fans were a little bit nuts sometimes for the original Gladiators, almost to stalker levels, but definitely there was also the groupies and so forth. How was the first incarnation of Gladiators for that compared to the second?
Well, wouldn't you be a stalker for Malibu?
Oh yeah, he's handsome for sure.
Handsome fella, man. I'm a stalker today. I stalk his Facebook page. I'd do that. Good looking cat, man. But yeah, I think the original had it. The original had it, and so obviously you're going to have the fans that are going to be a little bit more hardcore, probably a little bit more closer to what I dealt with when it came to the romance books. Those people are the women are very hardcore on that. The newer one, I think it was tapered down quite a bit for the fan base. Yeah, I think when it comes to the original Gladiators, you could compare that to wrestling and how the fans are with wrestling, because I know that sometimes I'll joke with Billy and I'll say something and his fan base will go off. You know, him and me just teasing each other, but his fan base is very loyal. So I could understand that from Malibu.
Tucker would like to know, speaking of Billy Gunn, would your son ever be pushed towards joining wrestling? Because Billy Gunn obviously is working with AEW now as an agent. He probably has the hookups there.
I don't know. I mean, obviously we are raising him with our best ability to make him, you can't coach size. That's one thing you can't coach. And so we've been feeding him from day one correctly for how a baby should be raised on proper meats. So he's a savage and he's a monster of a child. And we also started training at 3 months, swimming, and he moves kettlebells every single day. So we got a long time before we cross that road, but I would say I'm going to set him up physically to be able to do whatever he chooses to do. And then I'm not the savage in the family. I will say that. It doesn't matter that I'm in the Hall of Fame of Martial Arts or in the Hall of Fame of Bodybuilding or I've won these shows or American Gladiators. The real savage is Mama. So Mama's the real savage. And I think that's why I ended up marrying a woman from Transylvania. I needed a vampire, somebody that would be ruthless, tough, strong, and carry her own torch. So him getting raised by a woman like that came to the country from a communist country back then, from Romania, and turning herself into the success she is, it's a pretty cool thing to see how great America is, but also to see somebody that has that kind of attitude come to America and become a success, which kind of shows that everybody, especially if you're born here, man, you should be able to become somewhat successful on your own without complaints.
I saw the video where your wife was making you peanut butter and jam sandwiches. I think Billy Gunn was in that too. Would that be one of your favorite meals? And if not, what would be? Because I've heard you say that you're not really a big eater as far as taste goes.
Well, I'm not a big eater as far as taste goes because you're not going to get a lot of taste on a healthy diet as much as, you'd hope. With her cooking, it tastes much better than with Piedmontese and Icon Meals. Those are two huge saves for me. But when it comes to, let me say this, it's not just me, but it's guys that I know that were monsters by high school. Remember, somebody was just saying something about life or chemicals and stuff. I was 275 before graduating high school, and I was already the national champ in powerlifting, wrestler, and all-American football player. And so it wasn't 275 like you see today, a sloppy 275. I won Teenage Washington. I was competing against, a year later, I was competing against men in open shows. So I was a monster of a child. Now, that being said, that was also almost 40 years ago. So that being said, it was the peanut butter and jam sandwiches in between classes that got me huge, besides the protein and everything else. But it was the high calories and the protein from the peanut butter and the fats from the peanut butter and the bread. And I did Wonder Bread back then, man, some good ass Wonder Bread. You guys don't even know about Wonder Bread. But yeah, it's peanut butter and jam sandwiches are some of the greatest things in the world, but there's some of the greatest things for everybody that's on here, that's viewers, that's young, teenage, or 20-year-olds that want to put on size. Peanut butter and jam sandwiches.
Very interesting. Dan would like to know about Battle Dome. How was working on that set?
Battle Dome was by far the funnest. And I think it was for Fox. And so Fox back then was a very savage network. And so we could break legs and break arms and tear people's, limbs off, and they loved it. It was also on a good time slot to where we could show that kind of violence. And then on top of that, the guys that I was with, the warriors I was with, Terry Crews or Kuda, and all these guys, they were good athletes. Terry Crews played pro football for a number of teams, and there was other guys that were just savages. And so with that being said, and we had great contestants. And then anytime you have a great contestant, it makes you raise your game, and the games are more violent. So it was the most fun I had, because the Gladiators were more compared to Battle Dome. Battle Dome Gladiators were closer together because we really hurt people and got hurt. Compared to Gladiators, which it was more, I think, everybody was separated. Everybody wanted to, fighting for themselves in a sense. Where Battle Dome was a much more family-oriented thing, and I think that's why me and Terry Crews are still friends today, and me and the other guys are still friends today, is because we went to battle together. And anytime you go to battle with somebody, you just become a different bond.
Mr. E-Face has kind of a follow-up question to that. What was the worst injury you had from either Battle Dome or Gladiators?
Worst injury is I blew out my burst of sac in my knee. Was the worst incident I had. I've had dings, cracks here and there, but bones heal. I never stopped. I never pulled out. We just kept going. But you fight that much. Remember, I didn't do this for a year, and I think that's what people, if you think I've done this I did it through my 20s, my 30s, and my 40s. So I was competing against guys 20 years old to 30 years old throughout my 30 years. So it was so much fun. It was so much fun. And then on top of that, you're going to get banged up. But one of the things that I always talk about is that, are you injured or are you hurt? Because you got to keep fighting if you're hurt. So, and I've been lucky enough to continue my whole career. And I think that goes back to the nutrition. It does go back to the nutrition and the way I train. I know that most people are like, well, you shouldn't train when you get heavier. And the truth of the matter is you should only train heavy. Lightweight is deterioration to the connective tissue. It is continuous reps with no weight. So there's no bank account. You're not putting anything away for the future. All you're doing is burning calories for that day. It's like cardio. You go to burn calories for that day. You're not putting anything away for the future when it gets harder. And so bone density is connective tissue. Those are the two greatest things that you can have as you get older. And that comes from heavy weight. So it just separates men from boys. It really does. It's the guys that go in there and go, hey, I'm just going to go lightweight and lots of reps. It's not the way. I will see you in a year and you'll be worse than you are today.
What's your opinion on The Rock's physique?
It's great. I'm impressed, and I know how hard this is. I'm impressed that his physique is better today than it was 20 years ago or 25 years ago. So it's a cool thing to see. And he's only getting better. To me, when I see him in the gym and we talk and stuff, he's only getting better. It's a great thing to see. And I think it goes back to what I believe is that you really love something, right? You freaking love it to the point where I need to bleed training. I need to breathe it. I need that battle. And he's the same way. And that's why he trains at 3 or 4 in the morning before he goes to set. We both love it so much, and I think he'll continue to look even better and better and better. And he's a good sized human too. He's a big boy. I know he looks big on screen, but this is coming from a big guy. He's a big boy.
Last fan question I'll ask you here is, does the pandemic lockdowns have any negative effects on your workouts? And what do you recommend for people who want to work out without access to the gym? Here in Canada, our gyms were closed 300 days.
Yeah, you guys what is going on up there, guys? Holy shnikes, man. 2 things. I have a dumbbell workout program that you guys can all do. So even if you're locked down at home, you got a couple dumbbells, I got a full workout for you. And you can just Hearn anywhere and you'll find me. So don't worry about the name of it. Just go to mikeohearn.com. You'll find it, or contact me. Now, that being said, the lockdowns was a great thing for me, believe it or not, because my girl is a worker and she'll work me. And so for those 6-7 years before the lockdown, she was having me guest pose almost every other weekend. I was traveling and dieting. Remember, I talked about this earlier, is that you don't want to diet in the sense of cutting. So I'm always dieting, but there's a difference between cutting down to get on stage and being off season and feeding the body. They're both nutrition plans, and you should always be on a nutrition plan. So I was always in a deficit. And so that lockdown was great because I got to go off season and eat some good calories to let the body heal. And it was great because I got back up to like 310 pounds and moving some sick weight, more than that today. So it was great. It let the body heal. I got to go off season and take the calories high, which allowed me, and I say this to everybody, and I don't know why they don't understand this. My team tries to explain it to me, but by not doing cardio, by training 4 days a week, by eating the high calories, it allowed my body to heal, put that muscle memory back on, and then also allowed me to slice and dice and look better than I've ever looked in my entire career. So I know people are talking and stuff, but listen, I won the universe. My last time I won the universe was 1997. All right. I won the Mr. California NPC in 1999 or 2000. So it's been a long time. I'm going to look better this weekend than I've ever done in my entire career. So it's, again, 1983, I was on stage. So we're almost coming up on that 40-year period. And nutrition is key. Taking time to train smart, not harder. All these kind of things, these little details that I've picked up over the years. And again, I've taken the knowledge from Arnold, from Sergio Olivier, from Lee Haney, from all these individuals throughout the decades, and then put it together for what works best for a body. And I've been able to do this and stay healthy and do this and help people around the world, because that's pretty badass to be able to do.
Now, you do have this Titan training program. I believe you have to be a member to actually be a part of it. I've only really watched you talk about it in videos.
It's the opposite.
Okay. Could you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah. You don't have to be a member. You get to be a member for free because you subscribe. So that's the great thing about it. You subscribe to the nutrition and the training, that automatically makes you a member. So it's kind of a sweat equity, I guess you would say. So the membership thing is free. That is free for everybody if you're a subscriber. That way I can talk to everybody that's doing the nutrition. I can talk to everybody that's doing the training. And me and my team get to help them make sure that they're perfect. And the great thing about that is everybody's so different. And everybody has different issues. And some people have diabetes. Some people have 30% body fat. Some people have a bad shoulder. So the great thing about being a member, which is free, is that I get to talk to you and say, hey, let's do this. Let's not do the shoulder press because your shoulders are getting hurt. Let's do the side laterals. You got a bad knee. Let's not squat. Let's do leg press instead. And I get to help them. And that, tell you the truth, man, some of the feedback I get from fans around the world is some of the coolest things. People going, man, I got 150 pounds off my body during the lockdown. That's cool to hear from somebody that was over 350 pounds, and that's just one incident, but it's a cool thing to be able to do that. And also to be able to give away the membership for free because you're a subscriber is the coolest thing.
Very good. And people can just go over to your YouTube channel to subscribe to that.
Just go to Mike O'Hearn. Don't go to YouTube. Just go to Mike O'Hearn.
And if they want actually more specific advice and training programs, as you were talking about before, for everyone has different goals. Some might want to be a wrestler and look like Billy Gunn. Others might want to look like
Don't we all? I want to look
Yeah.
like Billy Gunn or Malibu, man. That's the two.
So how do people get your help with that? Is there something through your website?
MikeO'Hearn.com.
Okay.
MikeO'Hearn.com. We make it so simple for you guys, so you guys can crush that stuff and be easy on that. And this whole time, I probably could have touched the comment section, and so I could have saw a lot of these questions here. I'm sorry, guys. We'll do this again when this next movie comes out, or when you guys give me feedback on this last movie. Remember, go watch Madsen Brothers and let me know how you guys like that as well.
Yeah, there was a lot of questions today. We didn't even get to a quarter of them. So thank you, fans, for watching. And I've become a fan of yours watching your videos over the past few weeks. I already knew you from American Gladiators, but I didn't realize a lot of the other stuff you did. So I'm going to keep watching your videos and test your workouts as well. So hopefully we can have you back on next time you have something to promote, but I'll let you close this off however you want with whatever you want to say to the fans.
Wrestling fans, you guys are diehards. I love it. Go tease Billy Gunn for me. Tell me he has like skinny legs or something like that. That'd be fun to do. But if you guys are serious about getting healthy or nutrition or training, just go on over to mikeohern.com. I am pretty excited because we just started Monday, which is yesterday, Titan Challenge 3. Titan Challenge 3 is going to be a 16-week program that we are working together to get you in the best shape of your life over the next 16 weeks. And I'm excited about that. And we just launched that. Again, you can go over to mikeohern.com to get signed up for that. But we are helping people. And again, this is around the world. Even if you're in Canada and you're locked down and you got no gym, don't worry. We got you. We got you. We can work around that. No matter where you are in the world, man. Keep going with the wrestling. Love the wrestling. Go tease Billy Gunn, though, for me, because that would really make my day, man. Bust his balls a little bit.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV.